The other thing too is you'll say, I'm balanced. 30% is here, 30% is here, 30% is here. But guess what? Then you're like, but I'm not enjoying my life. I'm not
You
feeling,
feel like a robot.
yes, I'm not feeling content. I'm not accomplishing what I really want to accomplish.
Hello, welcome to today's episode of Creativity Boost Podcast. Today is my pleasure to have a very special guest on the show who goes by the name Rhonda Parker Taylor. Now, Rhonda is a very well-known academic researcher whose research has been recognized in the United Nations Global Compact Committee for her work in emotional intelligence. She's also an accomplished author of a book titled Crossroads. And today we're going to be talking about something really compelling. The topic we're going to be talking about today is creative ways to solve the problem of work-life balance. Thank you for joining us today, Rhonda. Can you just say hi to our listeners?
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to engage with you, and I hope you get a lot out of our podcast. It's a wonderful way for you to start thinking about how you can not only improve your life balance, but your joy in your life.
Wow, excellent. Now, Rhonda, I want you to tell me a little bit about your research and your work on emotional intelligence and how that impacts the creative capacity of individuals.
Sure. So, for those of you out there that don't know what emotional intelligence is, all of your life, most likely, you've been assessed for your IQ, which is your math, your reading, your ability to reason. Those numbers never change. Once you're born with them, and you can develop skills, but you don't develop any IQ points. Emotional intelligence is the right brain. It's more of your soft skills. There's 21 different characteristics, things like open to experience, inclusiveness, empathy. These are the skills that emotional intelligence, which is the same type of measurement as an IQ, only it's your soft skills. Emotional intelligence is your creative side of your brain. It's your people part. But the benefit of being able to use emotional intelligence is it helps you navigate not only your own emotions, but other people's emotions. So if you start developing those skills and those tools, if you start seeing that the conversation or the discussion or the project is bringing emotions out, then it allows you to stop, listen, and look for everybody's opinions and emotions and be able to bring the team together so that you can not only navigate your own emotions and prevent, for instance, a blowout or the wrong decision because it's emotional, but also those of others and get everybody on the same page.
Wow, that's really great. And I truly believe that emotional intelligence is a part of individuals that needs to be studied, because a lot of people are not emotionally, conscious of their environment and of the people they are in touch with. And because of that, they lack that human connection. And without that human connection, your creative ideas may not be appreciated because the people who you're going to manifest your creativity for need to know that you care about them. You're conscious about their emotions. You care about how they feel, right? Now that brings me to another question that really captivates me whenever I think about you and your person. You wrote a very interesting book with the title Crossroads, and I want you to just tell us about that book, if you will.
Sure. So Crossroads actually is a fiction novel, and the reason that I chose fiction first is I believe that many a times if we just start in a workbook or say, oh, I'm going to do self-development, or we don't really think about how, all the ins and outs of that issue. For instance, life balance. So in Crossroads, the main character, Paris Pennington, is a type A personality. She's a no nonsense kind of person. She works in finance and, she's a workaholic. Her core values work. So part of being a workaholic is your life becomes unbalanced. You spend more time at work, you start not navigating your personal life as well as you should in your relationships, you don't maybe navigate your home life as well as you should. And in this case, she isn't navigating those other aspects of her life well. So when she gets called to jury duty, because it is a suspense novel, then everything starts falling out, and it leaves her to be prey to those that might have other ill intentions for her life. So the point of it is it allows one to not only enjoy by reading a fiction novel, but also reevaluate their own core values and how are they navigating their world. Are they getting full enjoyment? Are they creating a life balance? Secondly, then it's been out for about a year, and so this actually you'll be the first one to see this is
Wow.
the book cover for the workbook for life balance. It's a journey for being able to be creative in your approach to your life and still
Wow.
get life balance. So, for all of you out there, it's not even on the shelves yet. It's not on Amazon yet. It's about a month out. So, you're seeing the first time release of the book cover. And the goal from the book cover, you can kind of see, is we have all this going on in our life. You have
Yeah,
sunshine, you have
it's so
flowers, you have
captivating.
everything, and then you have the world. And that's what causes us to get out of balance sometimes. We get so pinpointed on things that we forget to practice the other aspects of our life that brings positivity. And then what ends up happening, let's say, like, I love working. I don't know if I'll ever retire. But if I don't practice all the other aspects of my life, guess what? I won't even enjoy that part of my life
Yeah.
because you feel like you're stuck like a ball and chain to the computer or to your whatever your life work is. So it could be healthcare, and if you don't practice life balance and stay focused on all aspects of your life, then you're going to lose out somewhere in your life.
Wow, that's so 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 great. I really appreciate that concept because every creative has this challenge, and that's why I brought you on this show, because every creative gets to a point where they're out of balance. It's something that I've seen consistently. It's a pattern I've seen among creatives, and many times they are unable to regain balance. For me, I feel it's okay to be out of balance in a season, right? But there should definitely be a point where you bring everything back into balance. And I really want to seek your opinion on this, because in the whole discussion about life balance, there are two different schools of thought that I've heard frequently. There's the school of thought that says there's really nothing like work-life balance, or the concept of life balance is really not there. It's just a myth. This school of thought says that we can never have a balance in everything that's going on in our life. For example, you can't give equal amount of time and attention to every aspect of your life. So this school of thought usually sells the idea that you should go for what they call work-life harmony, to harmonize these different aspects of your life. While there's the other school of thought that says, well, you have to balance every aspect of your life. The time you give to family should be the same with the time you give to work and all of that stuff. So that's their concept of work-life balance. But I believe that you can help us unpack that argument based off your expertise. So what do you have to say about that?
They're both right. They're both right. You can't say one or the other, because let's say, for instance, you're going to say, all right, I'm going to get off work at 5 every day. But guess what? As soon as you promise that that's going to happen, you're going to be home, and there's going to be some kind of disaster that's happened, and you're going to have to break that rule. And so you're going to have flexibility with your family. The other thing, too, is you'll say, I'm balanced. 30% is here, 30% is here, 30% is here. But guess what? Then you're like, but I'm not enjoying my life. I'm not
You
feeling,
feel like a robot.
yes, I'm not feeling content. I'm not accomplishing what I really want to accomplish. So when I approach in the workbook, I first say, what's your life like? What do you like doing? And you're writing in all the things you like to do. And then I say, okay, now track what you're actually doing. And so what I find is when I'm starting to feel that robotish or non-contentment or, whatever it might be that I'm going through, because we're all going to have emotions, right?
Yeah.
I find that I'm not doing the things that I love or enjoy. I have not done the second part of what you're saying, which is bringing them together and enjoying every moment of my day. So, for instance, maybe on my downtime, that's me time, I'm watching TV. And maybe that's not where I get the most fulfillment. Maybe reading a book is where I get more fulfillment, or art, or, writing, or jogging, or whatever it is that I get more fulfillment, but I'm spending it on the easy thing. Like I found that I've always loved to cook and cook for others, but I found that I was eating out a lot, especially after the pandemic. And ordering it in and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not bringing that creative part to my body, that where I'm actually cooking and seeing things put together. So you have to evaluate, what am I actually doing versus what my intent or my emotions or my needs are. And that means you have to do every aspect. I do it in 8 different dimensions of your life: your spiritual life, your physical life, and then you use the SMART goals like you're taught in business class, or what's measurable, what is the actual goal? Is it travel? Is it, where are you going to get these different connections in your personal life or your parenthood or whatever the area of your life is? And you set goals for every one of those, and you're like, well, how can you do it in 8? You don't do it all in one day. You pick things.
Wow.
You just pick things.
Wow, amazing. And I really appreciate the way you approach that question, because it started to be like a very big argument and controversy between these two extremes, and you just solved that argument by finding a balance, by coming in the middle, because what you said is really, really valuable, and we need that time for things that mean something to us, for that thing that is important to us, for that thing that's in alignment with our goals and with what's important to us at the moment. And these things change per time. So the ability to rebalance and refocus and establish that balance is really great, and it helps us to feel like we are actually humans and not robots. So thank you so much for that. Now, what would be your advice for someone, a creative, working on a creative project right now and is getting overwhelmed with the demands of that project and doesn't have a social life? Is that okay for a while, or is that something that needs to be worked on? What's the impact of that state on the creative mind and on the emotional intelligence of that individual?
Well, we're not meant to be alone. So the first thing is, there are times like when I'm writing, sometimes there may be a chunk of time that I just have to shut my door and say, this is all I'm going to work on. But you can break that creative process down into objectives that you can stop, start, stop, start. I'm going to work on my in writing. It might be chapter 1, or I might be working on character development, or I might be, and then you have to stop and take a step back. But you can join groups that help you still stay in the creative process and still allow you to socialize at the same time. Like, for instance, for me, beta readers, ability to have someone give me some kind of feedback on my direction so that I don't get completely off the rails too, because a creative personality will get so tunnel vision. I'll give you a perfect example. When I wrote Crossroads, the police officer, the very first introduction for the police officer was sitting at Golden Corral before he got the call to that someone had called in and said that there was a dead body. And I swear, 5, 6, 7 pages describing the food. I must have been hungry, but and it was beautiful food. It was a buffet of everything you could ever imagine. And then when I turned it over to another creative, they said, nobody likes food that much. They want to read 5 pages about it. The whole thing got scrapped. It got on the chopping block, but it did keep me in the creative process. So yes, you can sometimes that creative process works against you if you stay in isolation. Because you spend too much on something that isn't necessary for the project. So balancing that out with feedback with someone you trust, or a group that can read behind you in the writing process, or let's say you're an artist or a musician, at some point you have to stop and evaluate and assess. And that's where you can pull in some of the other aspects of your life. Same thing with spirituality or enjoying your life. You can still take breaks. Have you opened the blinds in the room that you're sitting in? Have you looked outside? Have you taken a 5-minute break because the sun is out to get some vitamin D in your body? Those are the kinds of things that rejuvenate you. Have you put some music on? Have you put some TV on? Have there's different ways of still getting the outside world. Have you listened to the local news? Have you listened to the world news? So that you have all these thoughts still going in your mind, and it helps your creativity at the same time.
Yes, I totally agree with you, because even for me as a creative, I'm an author of 17 books, and I remember when I used to be very high on and intense in my book writing process, just trying to create concepts and come up with ideas. There are times when I feel choked, I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like there's this toughy atmosphere around me because I'm fixated on that creative project for such a long time. And what I do, I just go play, I just go look for things to do to just unwind and bring out that side of me, my creative side or my social side, my emotional quotient, to give it some attention. And I just do it may just be a day or two, it may just be an hour or 4. But I discovered that when I take that break, like you have said, or just take a walk, or just go play football, or just go watch a movie, right? These are things that the typical me would see as a distraction to my goal. But sometimes even those seeming distractions can help you gain that rebalance and just get your mind off the clog of over fixating on the creative process. And I have experienced that in my own journey, so I'm alluding to that fact that you and to that point that you've made, because I've experienced it, and I believe that there are people out there listening to us who are in this space right now. And I find that what we're talking about is a very critical thing to discuss, that most creatives have never even given a thought, and that's why I brought you on the show. Because lots of marriages have broken because of a lack of understanding of this concept. Lots of people have lost things that are dear to them, people that are dear to them, because of a lack of an understanding of this process. Now, what do you have to say to people who are on the brink of losing things that are dear to them because they are trying to, flesh out their creative ideas, go from idea to creation?
That's real important, and I do touch on it in the work bit, because you're right. People tend to shut others out, or maybe they're not tending to their finances, or maybe they're not tending to their spirituality. If you set other goals other than just the creative or the project, we're so used to being project oriented that we don't set goals for instance, our personal lives, our relationships. So I try to be intentional. Let's say my sister and I just had this conversation, because she's in a situation now where she's in the car more, but she's an executive, and so she's going from place to place, and her time's getting crunched. I said, so be intentional when you've got these long drives. Definitely make sure you're not doing a distractive driving, but you can make a call to a loved one that you haven't talked to in a while, and have a conversation that's not taking you and having you text, or you can spend those 15-20 minutes to re-engage. What about that person that was your best friend that you haven't talked to in 2, 3, 4 months? It doesn't take long to pick right back up if you just spend 15 minutes to pick up the phone, text, send an email. There was a point in time in my life where I was busy, and my father was busy because he's an entrepreneur, and I would even send email updates. The power of written word is just as important sometimes as the power of the verbal word.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're sending it at 2:00 in the morning. They used to do that all the time. How did they communicate in the 1800s? They sent a letter. Back and forth.
And the letter will take days, months, or even years before it gets to where it's going to. Especially in some parts of the world where they didn't have fast transportation as at that time.
Right. So just be creative in your approach. Some people may say, "Well, I don't have the finances to lavish my family, and it doesn't cost anything to put a picnic together."
So you don't have to go to Hawaii, you don't have to go to Mexico, go to Dominican.
And all of those are great. All of those are wonderful places to travel. Maybe that's your 5-year goal, to pull together a big trip. But what about your 1-year goal? What about monthly, doing something, that's, special to that person? How about, and I did this, there's all kinds of little things you can do, but for a creative person, they might like this. How about getting just a small box that you have around your house, take a piece of paper and write, 100 different things you like about somebody, cut them down into little scrolls, put them in the box as a gift, and then leave it for when you have a meeting. So while you're in your meeting, they're pulling out the 101 ways of why you enjoy that person, or now the internet provides all kinds of things in the TikTok videos that you can see that people are doing to have fun together. Wow. So it doesn't really cost anything to show attention to the people that are important to you.
Wow. And I like what you said. Really, it's really great. It's a really great idea, and I think I might try it. Right, that idea of putting stuff in the box and whatnot is really cool. And I think if you're listening to this, that's something that you should definitely explore. Now, still on the subject of people who are out of balance. To set the record straight, I don't have anything against being out of balance for a while. But what do you have to say? Because why I'm going to ask this question, because of something that we just touched on a few minutes ago about waiting till you have $1 million or you have lots of money to go on an expensive vacation, right? And there are creatives like that, and they're working on this project. They believe that this project is gonna be like a phenomenal success, and it's gonna change everything financially for them, for their family, and for their loved ones. And so they want to just go all in, not knowing if they'll be able to come back all out after going all in, right, for what they really want to achieve. So what do you have to say to people who may be out of balance because of the financial goal they've set for themselves? There are people who are broke and they feel like they have to shut everything out until they fix this situation, this financial situation, and so they block everyone out. And sometimes I can say it makes sense because of their situation, right? They don't have time for TV, they don't have time for nothing, they don't want to watch any game. They just want to make sure they can figure out their finances, and they have plans that when they figure it out, they would come back to balance. What do you think about that approach, and what do you have to say to people in that situation right now who are creative individuals?
First of all, I'm sorry that you feel like you have to put everything every second of your day to survive or make something successful. There's burnout and there's rust out. Burnout is where you do so much that there's nothing left at the end of you or anybody around. You're burning down the whole house as you go through it. And rusting out is someone that never tried. And they've lost their hope and their feeling of opportunity. I don't want you to be either one of those people.
Wow.
So I would like those that are working 24/7, 7 days a week to just close their eyes for just 2 seconds and picture success and what they think it's going to be. Everybody, all the family members, all the friends, they are celebrating with you. Now, think about the fact that you're burning down all those relationships and change that picture to you finally get there and you open your eyes and everybody's gone. You have not built those relationships sustainably to be there and celebrate at the end. It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to be there 24/7 with a high school friend or a college friend. You know, it takes staying engaged, and it's 2 ways. So if you're continually putting all your time into one project, then what's going to happen is everything else is going to go to the wayside. So you'll pick up and say, oh, I finally made it, and it's 10 years later. They're married. They live on another side of the world. They've forgotten your name. But they're still important to you because you're still holding on to the thought that they're going to be there at the end to celebrate with you. It doesn't matter if it's a loved one. It doesn't matter if it's a parent. It doesn't matter if it's a sibling. You know, you have to be that good person to them just like you're expecting them to be there for you. Yeah. And life is going to hit during the process. So there's going to be times that, you can't give 24/7. So the other thing is luck and preparation, or preparation is luck meeting opportunity. So you bring all those together and you'll have the opportunity to be successful. But if you don't prepare and stay organized and stay focused, you're going to lose everything. And your project may not be successful because guess what? You need people.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's still a 50-50 chance of success. And I think something you even said earlier is also applicable about leveraging the power of community and, right, being in touch with that community. It can help you stay in your creative zone, in your creative space, while you also nurture and water those other vital aspects and vital relationships that, are important to you at that moment. So that's really, really profound. There's something that you said that triggered another question in me. The question is this: there are those who are on the other extreme of being out of balance. That these are people who they have dreams, they have goals, they have aspirations, they have ideas, they have skills, they have talents that they've not yet manifested with their creativity. And so these are dormant ideas, suppressed ideas. And the reason for this is because these people are on the lower extreme of being imbalanced or out of balance. They go to their 9 to 5, but because they don't want to invest any time in manifesting their creativity, they go back home and they sleep. I think Dwayne Johnson said something. He said, if you go to your 9 to 5 and then you come back home and you sit on the couch and you don't work on your dreams, it means you're not inspired enough. That's putting it in my own words. And there are actually millions of people, if not billions of people in this category. That's why we have many people heading for the grave with their ideas, dreams, gifts, skills, books they should have written, songs they should have sung, going to the grave with these things. And what do you have to say about these people on the other extreme of being balanced?
First, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. When you have a passion or you have a skill and you're not using it, a lot of times it's a fear of being vulnerable and not succeeding. If you did it, that's all that matters. When I put Crossroads out, my sister had to have a what we call in the Christian faith a come to Jesus meeting, which is basically, why aren't you publishing it? It's been out, it's been done for a few years, and I wasn't even trying. And part of the reason was, she said, you are so busy pushing everybody else first, pushing everybody else's dreams, making them be their best, that you're not doing what, making yourself vulnerable and doing your own. So you have to practice positivity. You have to know it's up to you. No, in my case, the novel was not going to jump out of the closet and go publish itself, right? It's just not going to happen. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. The other thing that I say: surround yourself with people that are positive and will call you on your stuff. In my case, I could have made excuses for the next 10 years of why I didn't have time to publish, or I didn't have, the resources, or I didn't have the knowledge, or, it's done, but what do I do next? I just, so you have to surround yourself with people that says, now, wait a minute, stop. That's an excuse. Kind of like a salesperson uses to overcome the excuses. Stop making excuses. It could be, but I gotta, I've gone through the taking care of elderly parents. I've gone through we all have things going on in our lives that take us away from our dreams and our passions. It doesn't mean you even have to stop your 9 to 5 job. In the case of writing, I always tell people that, hey, because a lot of people have great ideas for books. 1 page a day, and it's done in a year. So, just follow it, take care of it, and if it's meant to be, and believe in yourself. That's the hardest for me sometimes, to believe in myself. And you wouldn't think that would be the case, because academically, I've got a doctorate, in writing, I've been successful in the academia world, and I'm now successful in the fiction world. So you say, well, what do you mean you didn't believe in yourself? I'm a small town girl from Indiana that why would anybody care what I had to say? Or an artist might say, why would they care about my art? Or my sculptures, or whatever it might be. Well, maybe it's because you have a talent. If it's meant to be, it's up to you to show people you have a talent. It's a business. It's not just creative. And a lot of times people think, oh, because I'm creative, it's just going to happen. They're going to love my work. No, you have to know the business aspect of it too.
Yeah.
If you don't make yourself a professional, it's going to sit and not be bought.
True. And I actually have a way that I help people, creatives, who are creative but they don't know how to manifest it in a way that has a business impact. I have something that I'm working on tagged how to master the business of your creativity, and I feel like what you just said further reinforces that project that I'm working on. So thank you so much for that. Now, having said all that we've said, what do you have to say about people who are in the academia world? Like you just said it, you crushed it in academia, and then you went on to explore your other creative sides, writing a fiction book, and that's another discussion that I intend bringing up after we talk about this. So, but what do you have to say about or say to people who they are in the academia world, because there are many professors, many scholars, many master's degree holders, many professionals who are crushing it in the academia world and in their career, who still don't feel fulfilled because there's still that part of them that's suppressed. There's still that creative side of them that's suppressed. What do you have to say to these people, and how did you break out, or I don't want to call it breakout, how did you transition, how did you navigate your way into this other side of your creativity?
Well, first realize the skills that being an academia gives you. One, you know people. Two, you know how to research. You understand how to read things critically to know whether it's a good idea, bad idea. And then you have to decide, what is it that my passion really is? Is it developing the people? If it is, like, I love developing people, but I still needed a little bit that was me. I wanted to leave a mark in something, you know, and that's where the writing really came strong for me. So so I took my research ability and put it into my writing. So emotional intelligence was important to me because it told me, one, the leadership aspect of emotions and dealing with the people factor, the soft skills. And then two, it also helped me realize some of the things that in my life that I could apply. Because emotional intelligence is what makes a person successful. Well, you might say, well, IQ does. Well, IQ helps, but the ability to navigate people is very important to your success and your emotions and others. So I took that ability to research and I said, okay, now I know how to do this. I can research anything. I can figure out most anything. So now I need to do it for me and my passion, which was I wanted to make people think and I wanted to leave a legacy. And so there's two ways I'm doing that. One, my research, I'm for my family. I decided I wanted to research the genealogy of my entire family and leave them that information. But guess
Wow.
what that does? That opens up my creativity. So, for instance, even though I have four fiction novels that are in a series that are coming out, Crossroads and then Chosen, and then the other one will come next with it's an untitled one, but they're all written. I'm like, oh wow, I found it a very engaging person that I would love to write about, even though I want it to be fiction. And that's like an 1800 doctor that's had to deal with different things that they had to deal with in the 1800s. He's running from the first murder in a city to delivering his grandson and I'm like, what a wonderful way to take that research and then also, develop myself as a writer. So each time you take on a writing project as a lot of academic people begrudge the idea that they have to research. They want to check in, check out. But guess what? That brings your life to you. When you start researching and you're looking for ideas that mean something to you, you have an opportunity to make a difference. Where a lot of times we forget that in academia.
Yeah. Wow. And I believe what you've just said is really going to inspire someone out there listening to us who may have parked some of their creative, capabilities on the side, and they don't know how to turn that around. I believe you being here and you doing what you do would be a leading light for such people to ignite their creativity and get that boost that they need. Now, to my next question about fiction, right? When you told me that your first book was a fiction, it really piqued my interest, because fiction is it's not just something anybody can do. It requires a high degree of creativity to come up with those plots, to come up with those stories, to come up with a story that makes sense, and a story that can be valuable to people, a story that when people read, they can see themselves in it. So can you tell me about creative storytelling and how you came about that? Did it just fall on you? Did you have to do any work to get that side of you out there, or to hone on that gift?
I think that, well, yeah, I definitely had to hone it because I had never done it before. So when I originally started writing Crossroads, I thought I was going to be writing about the injustices in the legal systems, because I had been working on a community project and saw that there were no winners or loser. Everybody was a loser once they got in the legal system. It didn't matter whether you were a juror or whether you're, a defendant, or whether you were the prosecution, or, the victims' families, or, it didn't matter. Once you get pulled into that world, it's a complicated and intriguing situation that's going to happen for everybody. But then as I started developing the characters, I chose a different route, which of character development, which is I used a medical format it's called a SOAP note. When everybody goes into the doctors, they ask you, okay, what's your chief complaint? Okay, I have a sore throat. And then they ask you, okay, when did it begin? And they go through every part of your body to find out, is it really just a upper respiratory infection? Do you need your tonsils out? Whatever it might be. And then after they've gone through and asked you questions about everything, they assess you. So they, whether it be listening to you through a scope, or just doing a visual inspection, and they write notes from what they actually see compared to what you've told them. And then they also do a mental health evaluation. Dressed appropriately for the weather, dressed inappropriately for the weather. Has a flat effect, which means no emotion in the face, can keep eye contact, uses, whatever it might be that person's doing. Talk some word salads, which is, all over the place. And so then I did that on each character. And then I realized that the book was more than just the legal system. It was also about these people that had dedicated that time to be part of the system. And each one of them had other complications. In Paris's life, she was a workaholic that, was afraid that she was going to miss deadlines and couldn't, keep up her normal workout routines. And then the mother that was just glad to be away from her children was in the room and all excited about the drama of it. And they all had something, not only to contribute, but they also had something that they were missing because they were contributing. And that's all what life balance is. When you put a new ball in the ring and you're trying to balance everything out, something else drops. And so in each case, like a game of Clue, something drops and something happens because everybody's in this situation. So, and it also brings other people's attention into the room. And in Paris's case, people start dying, people are getting sick. You have to figure out, is it about the trial? Is she going through a medical crisis, or what's really going on? And then you realize that that's what life is. It's a complicated and intriguing journey, no matter who you are, whether you have the most quiet life in the country or whether you're in the city. There's always life that's going to hit.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much for going into that much detail to just share how you came about, fiction writing. It's really, really intriguing to know, and I want to really appreciate you for your time. I think that this will be a great place to call it for our conversation. Do you have any final words that you'd like to share, or do you have anything you'd like the audience to be aware of, maybe how they can work with you or how they can get to know you or connect with you on a deeper level? Anything that would make for a parting words, now would be the great time to say it.
Oh, sure. I'll be glad to. First of all, I try to make it easy for anybody that wants to get in touch with me. It's RhondaParkerTaylor.com. Rhonda's with an H, and all the social media is the same. Please follow me. Please, add comments, things you'd like to see, anything about my writing that I like, good and bad, because sometimes, like I said, the feedback is what makes you grow.
Yeah.
Also, thank you for having me on here and talking about the creative part of it, because when you develop your creativity, you're developing skills that you're not only have innate to yourself, that you're learning from others. And don't isolate that ability to share with your inner strengths with others. Don't be fearful of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rhonda Parker Taylor, for joining us today and for unpacking such a lovely conversation. It was so nice to have you on the show. And to our listeners out there, thank you for plugging in. If you found some value in this conversation, I want you to tell someone about it. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell someone that you know would receive some value from this also. Someone that you think needs to have some life balance or needs to have some reevaluation on their perspective towards what we have just discussed. Also, do well to follow me on whatever podcast platform that you listen to your podcast and subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I promise that next week you're going to have something like this, something engaging, something captivating, and something transformational. And so till then, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Everybody have a good day.